Okay, we are now live. Welcome to this special AI-centered show, everyone. We are introducing a game today that you get to participate in. Is it AI or is it real? We will all embarrass ourselves, I'm sure, with the content that producer Andy has put together for us. Also, Amazon is getting flooded with AI slop that bears remarkable resemblance to the book writing machine content from Orwell's 1984. Do we really just want endless tides of new content to consume, or do we want something more? And we'll talk about how to find the balance between innovation and regulation. Should there be any regulation on AI technology? Will the government just make things worse, as it often does? And for Unhinged, we are going to show you a scammer using an AI face filter to try to fool people. But unfortunately for him, the person he tried to scam was cybercrime investigator Jim Browning. And it's not just a technology episode. It's about where the line is between optimism for the future and spiraling into dystopia. We are going to talk about all of this on episode 534 of the In the Tank podcast. 535. I did not mean 534. 535. Sorry about that. All right, welcome to the In the Tank podcast. I am Linnea, Lueken, your host, who is choking on my own breath. And as always, we have Jim Lakely, Vice President and Director of Communications at the Heartland Institute, Sam Karnick, Senior Fellow, and as our special real intelligence, not artificial, I think, Donald Kendal, Director of the Glenn C. Haskins Emerging Issues Center, brilliant designer of nails and all Heartland graphics. And
I'm actually the director of awesomeness. I think you got to read this.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Sorry, I didn't have the updated title in my notes. We also have producer Andy Singer in the background, keeping the show moving along. And he also designed the game for us today that we are going to play. We'll get to that after our Unhinged segment. Before I say hello to you guys and before we get started, I want to remind our viewers here, because it looks like there's quite a few of you in the chat already. If you want to support the show, you can go to heartland.org/inthetank and you can donate to us there, since YouTube does not let us monetize this channel. Please also click the thumbs up to like the video, and remember that sharing it helps to break through some of that suppression, and even just leaving a comment helps us too. If you're an audio listener, you can help us out by leaving a nice review. Guys, how's it going? What's the scariest AI thing you've seen in the news this week?
Oh, we'll talk about that later. But I will say that, you know, when you said episode 534, I think that's just proof that you're not AI, right? So the AI doesn't make little mistakes like that. It's a very human thing. So we'll just say that was intentional.
Yeah, I actually really tried. I don't think I delivered the line very well, but I wrote in like an AI sounding line into my introduction where I said, it's not just a technology episode, but I didn't deliver it very well. I meant to emphasize it, but I didn't nail the delivery on it. So my joke fell kind of flat.
And it's hard to see M dashes in conversation.
Good point.
Hey. I've been using the M dash for my entire writing life. I'm a professional writer. I refuse to give up the M dash just because people think I'm AI.
You have to. It's like when we all had to stop doing the circle game because it started being associated with like Nazis or something like that. We can't do that anymore. We can't. We got to drop it. We have to drop the M dash, Jim.
Yeah, just look at what they've taken
from us. I've stopped using the semicolon and started using the full stop. and just make it a new sentence, or use a colon and write it so that the second phrase actually explains the first.
Man, this is an audience killing. This is an audience killing conversation. Let's move on.
They love it.
Right.
People love grammar.
Yes, that's what we're gonna. Yeah, that'll be the next special episode, grammar episode. All right. So guys, we're gonna get into Unhinged here, which I have titled "To Catch a Scammer." Every once in a while, I like to remind our audience that there are a lot of scams out there, especially now over the internet, and unfortunately, AI is making them a lot harder to catch. You can get phone calls where someone can mimic the voice using AI of like a loved one or something and say, hey, I'm in jail, I need bond money, that kind of thing. That's pretty common now. Here, I wanted to show you guys a clip from Jim Browning where he is talking to a scammer over a Zoom call. The scammer is from one of those basic scam companies that claims to be able to recover your funds after they were already stolen in a cryptocurrency scam. So they're actually just doubling up on their victims. Fortunately for us, Browning recorded this interaction and posted it to YouTube Shorts. So please go watch his channel. He's a great educator on this stuff. And also, I really enjoy people who screw with scammers and stuff. It's called scambaiting. It's really fun to watch. All right, so we will link in the description. But it's important for us to spread awareness on how these scams work, especially in an AI episode like this, and how convincing they can be. So if we have the video.
You're not some AI thing, though. What? How would I be able to tell?
Here, man. Here.
Oh, is that? Sorry, can you hold that up?
It's not AI.
Can you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's
That's
like
our director.
Oh, I see. I thought it would be your name.
No. That's our director. We have a multiple. You see all of them here.
Oh, I see.
So, Ronnie.
But you know, is there
What's
not
going
some
on?
way of telling whether you're real or not? Can you like hold up 3 fingers in front of your face or anything?
Oh, come on. That's too much.
Oh, you don't want to do that
Well, I'll do that here.
in front of your face?
What do you mean? I mean, that's too much. Come on, Ronnie.
Why would it affect the AI if it was in front of your face?
Well, not at all. But
Can you
I don't
do
know.
that
It's
then?
too much to ask somebody.
Well, it
I'm just
makes
doing
sure
it.
you're not AI. Is that unreasonable? I mean, can you do that in front of your face?
Well, I think that that's too much to ask somebody. Don't you think that?
No, I don't think it is. If I'm making sure you're not AI, I think that's a reasonable thing to ask. Can you hold up 3 fingers in front of your face?
Well, I think that, well, is that enough?
No, it's not in front of your face.
Well, that's too much, don't you think?
Yes, it is, because
You can see his hair. His hair is twitching.
3 fingers in front of your face. Yes, I thought so.
Wow.
So that, I mean, if you're not really, examining it all that close or something, I could see someone falling for that. Or if you're using Zoom on your phone or something, oh yeah. And if you were just really stressed out. So as I said before, the setup for this is that the scammers steal your money by getting you to invest in a fake cryptocurrency. And then later they recontact you and they pretend to be investigators or like white hat friendly hackers who are going to help you recover your lost funds for a small fee. And then they steal that money. So yeah,
Wow.
it's I wanted to share this with the audience because a lot of the times we can get this idea that like only stupid people fall for these scams. And I don't think that's the case, especially since they're getting better and better at this stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I had a similar incident, not for me, but somebody, like a family member, where somebody was claiming to be me, and asking for, oh, I'm in trouble, can you send me some money? And like, thankfully they didn't do it, but yeah, that's the level that it's at now. I mean, it's tricky. I think like, maybe I have too much hubris to think that I'm not going to fall for some of this, but certainly people in my family that aren't aware of just the technological leaps and bounds that have been made in these directions, I think would get tricked by something like this. So I've actually made it a point to talk to them directly about this and talk about like, establishing a keyword, some sort of term that like we would only know, and that if anything like this were to happen, if there's just an inkling of any fishiness, bring that like key term up. And then the other thing that I want to mention is, even people listening to this, I mean, in the office, we still throw around that joke about like AI showing somebody with too many fingers or whatever. That hasn't been a thing in years. So if you think that like AI is going to be that noticeably AI because of, something absurd like it having, a person having 6 fingers, that's yes, Andy, that's we're not at that level. We have surpassed that by years at this point. So yeah, you have to be very aware and, literally talk to people in your family that you think might be susceptible for falling to for something like this, and make them aware of just how advanced this technology has gotten.
Yeah, and these scammers also, Google doesn't have any, process whatsoever for filtering out scam websites. A scam website will pay to get their result to be the top of the search bar, and
Right.
it'll direct you to like a fake Comcast website. So it's all very sketchy. I just wanted to remind our audience, the credit card company will never call you. The like DirecTV is not going to call you and ask you to give them your PIN numbers and stuff. They already have it. They don't need to call you. It's pretty bad. I get scam calls all the time. They're bad enough. I got one time where someone was claiming to be a police officer. And they were looking for like bond money or something, and I just hung up the phone on them.
James Bond money. Yeah, another thing is, we're in the kind of office space kind of sphere, and we're not like we see a lot of these like phishing emails, scam emails. And the ones from a decade ago, when I was first at Heartland, those were the most obviously identifiable things in the world. It would be terrible spelling, the worst grammar in the world. It's just so obvious that it's a scam. The ones that are coming through now, it's like you have to look at it a few times and make sure that like, no, this is in fact a scam before deleting it, tossing it into your garbage folder. But yeah, just a few short years and these scams are getting way more advanced.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I actually know that it's a real email from, like, say, Sterling Burnett, our head of the director of our climate center here at Heartland. I know it's really from Sterling because the sentences are overly long and not punctuated great, and and I know this is a real text from my sister when she doesn't capitalize a single word. Every period starts with a new sentence with a lowercase letter, so you have to look out for those things. But you're right. I mean, back in the day, the Nigerian prince was not very good at writing in the English language that an American would recognize. And I got to say, I am like a lot of people listening to this. We've seen them in the comments. I screen all of my phone calls. I am inundated with spam, but also tons and tons of phishing scams in email and increasingly on my phone. My cell phone number, as the nature of my job, is public, so you can find it on the website. And so now AI is crawling all these things and finding it. I don't care how many times I hit delete and report as spam on my iPhone. It seems to have no effect because I keep getting more of them every day. But if I was, let's just say I wouldn't have been fooled by that video that we just showed at the beginning of the segment, because I don't respond to any inquiries about anything in my life by any stranger. I know, what accounts I have. I know I know that if it's really real, that it will come to me in a way that is more verifiable. Unfortunately, AI is going to get so good that it's going to be able to fool people that are usually consider themselves pretty savvy when it comes to these things. That video looked 100% real. When he went back and reached back and grabbed that thing off the wall and held it in front of him, then the guy said, "Can you hold it closer, please?" And he held it closer, please, so you could read it. And the words on it were real. They were spelled right. It looked somewhat legitimate. And then when he says, "Put the 3 fingers up," and 3 fingers came up, although it was a little weird. What was it, like this or something? Some kind of gang sign, I guess, AI gang sign. But it was that, to me, that was super convincing. It's only that guy. I'm sorry, the guy who released the video, I forget his name, you mentioned in the beginning. He had to keep pressing and pressing and pressing, and came up with something very specific that he thought AI would not be able to accomplish. frankly, he's just lucky he wasn't able to accomplish that. How hard would it be for an AI thing to just do that? I mean,
Well,
this is so hard.
This was probably a deep fake
this
filter.
is just a deep fake. It's not a fully AI generated person. So it's a real person in a real office with a fake face and like arms.
Oh,
skin
okay. All
color on.
right. That's right. Yeah, because the filter would be
distorted.
The face filter would have been distorted if he put his fingers in front of his face. Like
if he did the John Cena thing. You know?
Yes, that's right. but soon it's going to be that you're going to be on a Zoom call with an actual AI video person that is pretending to be a real person. So this is coming very soon. Look, we're all on Zoom calls all the time. Are you always looking at the screen and examining for human activity? No, you're glancing over. You might check your phone. You're not looking at that real carefully. This is pretty. AI is turning out to be a the Wild West with an endless bonanza of opportunities for scammers. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure half of our meetings, when producer Andy is in those meetings, is actually just some intern with a deep fake Andy face on there, just sitting and nodding along. I'm pretty sure. I haven't been able to prove it, but I'm pretty sure.
Andy is like, I'm working on that. Don't die.
I know he's working on that for sure.
And it's the stuff about the Google search is really annoying because you should be able to, I should be able to type into Google like, where could I buy cryptocurrency, and know that the first place that will come up will be like a legitimate cryptocurrency website, but that's just not what happens. And to me, because I'm a Neanderthal and don't understand how anything works, crypto itself seems a bit sketchy to me. I like to have things that I can really like grasp the value of, like Smog the Dragon or something. I like a treasure hoard of sparkly things like pre-1982 copper pennies and stuff. Things that won't become totally worthless if a solar flare wipes out all electricity. But at In the Tank, that's why we trust Advisor Metals. We trust them above all of the other metals companies, and that's because we know at Advisor Metals, the person running the place is the absolute best of the best. A great friend of Liberty, Ira Bershatsky, owns and is the managing member of Advisor Metals. He has decades of experience in precious metals and is the only person in the physical precious metals industry who has the Commodities Futures Trading Commission federal registration. That's a lot of words. What does it mean? Well, it means everything that Ira or a member of his team says to you has to be factual. So there's no sketchy sales pitch or bait and switch. He is held to the highest ethical standards, and there is full transparency, which is obviously way too lacking in other places nowadays, even Google search. So if you want to diversify your investment portfolio and your savings, if you're planning for retirement and are concerned about economic uncertainty, if you're scared of crypto and want a tangible asset that is easy to buy and sell like me, you can secure your assets with a wide range of physical precious metals by getting in touch with our friend Ira at Advisor Metals. Ira is going to make it very easy for you. Please visit climaterealismshow.com/metals, and you can leave your information for Ira and get started with investing in precious metals and expand your current portfolio. Go to climaterealismshow.com/metals, and when you talk to Ira, make sure you let him know we sent you. That helps us while you're helping your financial future by diversifying with precious metals from Advisor Metals. Thank you guys very much. All right, so now that we've kind of had it out of the way that there are scams that can target you with fake videos and stuff like that. A lot of people still think, as Donald was talking about before, that you would be able to very easily tell the difference between an AI scam and something that's real. So we are introducing a game to embarrass all of us and disabuse all of us of that idea called Real or AI. Do we have a drop? I think we have a drop. Maybe not.
All right.
In a world where anything can be faked, can you spot the truth? Tonight, it's man versus machine, instinct versus algorithm. One image, one voice, one chance to call it. Is it the real deal or a clever creation? Get ready to decide. This
is Real or AI.
Thank you. Very good. All right. That's very exciting. Obviously, AI made drop that Andy created for this. And I thought that was great. All right, so we want the audience to participate here in this game. So to do that, we're going to pull up a code on the screen. You can scan the QR code or go to the link on the screen there. We promise it will actually bring you to the quiz, and this is not a scam website. And you can put in a nickname and you can enter the game. The game is very simple, you guys. Guess whether the media we are showing to you is real or artificially generated, and we will see who has the best AI spider sense by the end of the game, and who will be the first to be destroyed when the Terminator apocalypse begins. So
Right.
Andy put this together for us, and I'm sure, as I said before, that we are going to be very badly embarrassed because good AI content has become extremely convincing. But so let's get everybody into the game.
Yeah,
All
I don't
right.
know if Andy needs a little bit more time to start the quiz, but I'm playing right here on my very phone.
Yes, me too. Okay, I wasn't sure if that's what we were supposed to do.
Oh no,
Yes.
yeah, I'm going to try to play on my phone. So if you can't get the, we encourage everyone to go over there. Again, it's not a scam, but to go over there and try to do it. And if not, you can just put your either thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat, or yay or real or AI in the chat as well.
Yep. So we're gonna give Andy a second to get this together here, but we've been wanting to do this for months and months. We've been talking about how much fun it would be to get the audience involved in a game like this. I think we even were talking about it last year when AI like image generation was still just a little bit wonky most of the time. But now it's gotten so good that we're just gonna probably be looking at a bunch of pictures of like real looking birds and stuff and have no idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can take our time here. Actually, there's no rush. We can do what we want on our show, but we've actually talked about replacing our visages here on the screen with avatars, like either cartoon avatars or something else, which seemed impossible a year ago. But I bet we can figure something out before the end of the year to like make the show like all manga style or something like that. It would be pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Jim, we're not going to make this an anime show. We're not going to be VTubers.
I saw some headline recently. I was trying to find it just in those last minutes here, but I saw some headline that was suggesting that like out of the top 10 songs list, whatever that is, that like 4 or 5 of them were AI songs. And I know in the past, several months back, we talked about the #1 country song in the country was like an AI song. So like that wasn't just some anomaly. That wasn't just some one-time thing. It's like becoming more and more the case. And it's, for better or for worse, I know that I don't want to rehash that whole same conversation about human creativity versus, AI, analog, all of that sort of things. But this is not just a flash in the pan. It's something that is staying and is becoming more of a cultural cornerstone than just like some passing, interest.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I do think, I don't know, I have it. That's our next topic after the game here is going to be talking about the like just colossal amount of just total and utter slop that Amazon has been publishing because of AI novel generators, but we'll get to that in a minute. What's up, Andy?
Let's get it started.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, round 1, video. All right, so we've got a car driving through a dusty, sun-setting road through the desert here. All right, is there a button I can press?
I don't think the quiz online is ready. Keep saying, I'm going to hit refresh. It keeps saying to waiting for the quizmaster to start.
Oh, here we go. Oh, all right. Your answer, real or AI? All right, I submitted mine. What does everyone in the chat think?
My quiz has not started.
My quiz has not started either. I say AI.
I say it's AI.
I was able to do mine.
It is AI. Sam, you're muted. There we go. I don't know why I'm not in there. Well, we got some people in there.
Oh man, it does it by time taking to make your decision. I got to be quicker now. Oh jeez.
Unfortunately, I can't get in there. That's too bad.
All right, that's Andy.
It's a picture of Andy petting a tiny little miniature donkey.
I think this is real.
No, it's definitely not real.
I think it's real.
It's Andy and some guy wearing a green shirt.
87% of people got it in. 93% got it in. All right, let's see what it is.
What?
Yep,
That's not real?
that's not real.
Hasn't that been your profile picture for like years?
I knew I could fool you with that one.
You put an AI. You AI'd yourself to alter it,
AI'd
right?
myself in a real picture.
Look
okay.
at that.
Wow. Dang it.
Just wait for. Let's see how people did. Only 2 people got it. Wow.
Well, they took some time to. Well, they may have said it while when you said what you said, but I don't know. That's they took their time. All right.
All right. Oh.
Well.
Whoops.
Well,
A hospital after this fiery crash in
I
Fort
didn't answer
Lauderdale.
This one's real.
This is some video from last night. You see that car is on fire.
apologies for that one. All right, here we go. I can wait.
Is this a
Oh,
video?
dang.
I think
Or
that's
just a
AI.
picture.
B.
Oh my gosh, I'm just
My
guessing at
paranoia
this
is
point.
immense. I would
I
think
know.
that if this was just on my feed on Facebook or something, I would think this was real.
The psychology of this is messing with me.
Yeah.
I say real. I've only missed one. That was Andy's.
Let's see.
Let's see. 87% are in. I'll get a few more in a
Give
second.
you
I'll go
people
through.
10 seconds.
I should have
Oh,
got the Jeopardy music.
yes.
All right, let's see what we got.
We need some background music for this. Let me try to.
Dang.
AI.
Yeah, get night driving on. That's AI? Okay.
Yeah, people, 2 points of the max. This is the last one, so this is gonna have to be the differentiator.
Oh no. Oh God. I don't know.
I'm gonna say this is AI because who puts Indian corn on their plate like they're actually gonna eat it?
Ooh.
I think that would be something that Andy would do. I think he took this at a family dinner. I'm gonna hit real. He made those, whatever that is on the left. He's proud of it. I'm gonna show it
I
off.
think this is AI as well. I think that plate is just, it's very convincing looking chicken, but I think it's
Yeah, Sal, we skipped one accidentally. All right, let's see. We got 73%. I'm gonna give people a little time. Who puts Indian corn on a plate?
Look at Linnea, a little detective over there. She's like really thinking this through.
The quiz page frozen. Someone, sorry about that.
All right. This is also just a test run. We're gonna
yeah,
do
this is
a
the first time we've done this. I finished this right
full-fledged
before the
version
show.
of this at some point in the future.
All right, and that is real. I put
Dang.
Indian corn.
Oh my God, it's
Dude.
real.
He did put Indian corn on his
That was
plate.
And
my
I still
rabbit
hit
dinner.
AI because I didn't believe the words that I was saying. I know it.
That was all of them. Oh wait, let me pull up the leaderboard. Let's see who won. Oh, round. No, okay, no, there's no rounds here. Bunch of
Ray,
three.
I came in
Ray,
fourth.
Sal,
Sal.
and
Pretty rooster. I
TC.
came in
Oh, I'm
fourth.
definitely dead.
Way to go, Ray.
Yeah, I work at the Donald. You can't even guess who I am.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, I'll pull myself.
All right,
Okay.
Ray. Stand by, Ray. You're going to get a call from someone from Nigeria asking for all your personal information. Just give it to them and you'll get your prize.
Yeah, in gift cards. Yeah.
And gift cards.
Wow. All right. I knew I was going to suck at that because I just, there's just no telling. It's almost like a 50-50 on that dog one. I've seen a million pictures of dogs licking whipped cream off of their nose or whatever, just like that.
Yeah, and you know what's another thing is, this is kind of along the lines of somebody having 6 fingers in an AI picture, is that AI wasn't able to do like text very well. Obviously there's the large language models that can produce articles and books and all of that sort of things, but when you're actually generating a picture that contains text,
Yeah, it can
sometimes
do
that
it now.
text is mangled and all of that, but it's getting so good now.
Yeah,
that
it
when
still gets tripped up on like if you have a city scene and there's a bunch of cars with license plates visible
Sure.
and stuff, the license plates will be kind of messed up. But
Right,
it
but
is
it's getting It's
Very
getting to a
good.
point where people are sharing, a tweet by like Donald Trump, which would have been easy to just Photoshop, you just
Yeah.
Photoshop in the text or whatever. But now it's just wholesale AI, and the text in the fake post looks real, So it's like I see these noteworthy, like a screenshot of some noteworthy tweet that's sent to me, and I don't even believe it. I have to go back and check and find it and page through the thing based on the screen name to see if it's real at this point.
Yeah.
I just don't trust anything.
Oh, I always do that too. Yeah, it's getting my internet paranoia is very high at
Yes.
this point. Okay, guys, we're gonna move along to the next topic here. I hope that was fun for everyone. I thought it was pretty fun, and hopefully next time it'll be a little bit smoother, and maybe we'll have time for a few more pictures and stuff. But that was great. Thank you so much to Andy for putting that together. Let's see. All right. So topic number 3, I called it the book writing machines. But so in George Orwell's 1984, the Ministry of Truth mass produces these state-approved novels for the public to consume. The quote from the book is that books were just a commodity that had to be produced like jam or bootlaces. Today, this is done by AI in volumes that even Orwell's novel writing machines could not have possibly accomplished. There is an entire industry on TikTok where young women are eagerly consuming generated romance and fan fiction content that is, fully AI written short stories and stuff. So Amazon has seen a massive sudden increase in new books being submitted and published on their self-publishing service. It started to happen right around 2023. They went from about 100,000 monthly releases, which hadn't changed over years, to 200,000. And then by 2025, it was up to 300,000 new books per month being published. So we have a chart from, I think, Lueken on Twitter for that. Yep, right there. All right. And so there's an estimate as to how much of that has been generated by AI. And it seems that AI generated works probably contribute the vast majority of that increase. And so it's creating, fiction novels. It's also creating nonfiction guides. There was another like scam investigator guy who I watched a while ago who bought a native plants for food book on Amazon. And as he flipped through it, he realized that it was entirely AI generated, and it had information in it that was dangerously wrong. Like descriptions of what a death head mushroom looks like that were incorrect and getting things mixed up and stuff that would lead people to death or severe injury. So you have to be careful. There are also book creating apps now that will write an entire manuscript for you. They're advertised on the front page of Google, PC Magazine, other tech publishers. And so I came across this article at The Conversation, which also thought of the book writing machines in 1984 upon researching this topic. They said thousands of AI written, edited, or polished books are being sold, an eerie echo of Orwell's novel writing machines. So this that's up on screen here is one of the PC Magazine's advertisement for an AI book creator. They talk about how it's drafting, formatting, and metadata generation, but it also just straight up does the manuscript for you, which is I'd find it gross, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. But at The Conversation, the author writes, in 2025, the artificial intelligence company Anthropic, best known for creating the chatbot Claude, agreed to pay $1.5 billion to thousands of authors after a judge ruled that the company had infringed on their copyright. When I first learned about the settlement, I assumed that Anthropic was primarily interested in teaching Claude about the subject of my stolen work. It didn't occur to me that Claude might also be learning about how I, Laura Beers, political historian, craft my sentences and translate my voice to the page. Yet there's increasing evidence that chatbots like Claude can be trained not only to regurgitate an author's content, but also to mimic their voice. Now, I do want to break in here for a second and say that we already knew that like years ago. That's what AI does, is it copies writing styles. That's one of the things that it's like fairly good at, because it's a pattern regurgitating machine. So it does that quite well. The potential of AI generated literature to turn a quick and easy profit ensures that readers will continue to encounter more of this content in the future, especially as AI's large language models become more refined. Already, studies have shown that readers cannot easily distinguish AI generated forgeries from original prose. Okay. So before I direct it to my panel here, as a writer myself, both in like op-eds and our white papers and all sorts of stuff, and Heartland produces a lot of written content. But more than that, a voracious reader of fiction and also nonfiction, it's my personal opinion. Others on this panel might have a different opinion that this is terrible. If someone doesn't care enough to actually put the labor in to create a novel or a short story or whatever, why should I care enough to read it? Same goes for op-eds and news, especially opinion content. I understand that some people don't share that kind of relationship with the stuff that they consume, but I'd like to know, everyone else's thoughts here. Even if AI is able to write in a unique voice or copy your voice in particular, which it doesn't do without pretty substantial prompting right now, would you still want to read it? And my next question for the panel would be, should there be disclosure laws on text and images for this kind of thing?
I, too, am a reader of fiction, and I've read a lot of it, and I enjoy it greatly. And I wonder if this is really that much of a problem. So I'm going to probably disagree with you slightly. For me, there are a couple of angles to this. One is liability, and the other is truthfulness. So one of the problems that you have is that you cannot copyright a writing style. You cannot copyright a story structure. You can't copyright those things. You can only copyright the final product. So the question then becomes one of morality and of fraud. So you could say, well, it's wrong to do this, which appears to be what the writer of the article complaining about this was saying. It is wrong. Let's say it is wrong. So what? If it's wrong, but people enjoy those romance novels or soon to be science fiction or suspense and so forth, then it's still their choice to read that. And you can definitely you can definitely go to old books and read the actual old book and know that you're getting something real. But you couldn't. There are times when I wonder if an older book that I've seen online is actually real. So there are mystery novels that are supposedly written by somebody in the 1930s. I've never heard of that person before, and I probably would have. And so it is deceptive, and it is wrong. But how you get from point A to point B, where you can actually regulate these things in a way that is not unjust and is not government overreach, is very difficult to see. I would say that Amazon is responsible for the product that they're putting out. And if people stop buying Amazon books because they simply can't tell whether they're real or not, then that would be the best solution. But if people like these books and they see no difference between a book like this and Bleak House by Charles Dickens, then I guess that there isn't much we can do about it. And so I would caution that we don't want to go too far in figuring out what's the best way of having the world, of making the world. There is no best way. Everything has its trade-offs, and coercion is generally nowhere near as good as liberty. So I think that we can acknowledge that something's wrong, but that there may not be much that you can do about it without creating much worse follow-on effects. And yes, I am an AI robot saying this.
Yeah, I kind of have I don't know, fairly nuanced position on all of this. I understand it. We've been impacted by this sort of thing. So like another, that graph that you showed about all the AI generated content. I think some people that are just, trying to put together a book and sell it or whatever, but there's like even more nefarious uses of it. And kind of the same way that we were talking about the scams in the first segment of this podcast, where we released just earlier this year, The Next Big Crash, authored by Justin Haskins. That was a self-published book that he painstakingly wrote by hand. In fact, I don't even think he used a computer. He used a piece of chalk and a slate outside or something like that to put that whole thing together. And so then as soon as we basically hit published on that and started selling it through Amazon, somebody took that book and wholesale copied it. They must have just taken chapter by chapter and just put it through an AI filter to say slightly change the words of this book and popped it into their own book called The Next Big Crash with a slightly different subtitle and then started selling it. And the idea here was that there would be some percentage of people that wanted to go buy Justin's book and instead clicked on that fake one and bought that. So that is a very nefarious use of artificial intelligence. I think that's a very cheap use of artificial intelligence, and maybe even an effective way to use artificial intelligence to commit some level of fraud. Now, I think on the other end of the spectrum, I think there is wonderful use cases of artificial intelligence that are, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but maybe it was going through my head the last time we were talking about the country song, where there was this story of this lady that was a poet. She actually wrote her own poetry and all of this sorts of things. But, she wasn't a singer and she didn't have a band and she didn't have the resources to, do what she wanted to do, which was take her poetry and make music out of them. She was able to do that using artificial intelligence. That's, I think, a wonderful use of those tools. Another example was my wonderful wife during our anniversary. She used 2 separate AI tools to craft a song that was very kind of personal to us, and whatever, was in this very specific style, and to make a song. Now, to do that prior to artificial intelligence, what was she going to hire a band and write music out for all of this and have studios prepared to record all of this? No. But the difference, and why I think that was a wonderful use of AI, was that it actually took time and effort. And, I could actually see the back and forth that she went through these tools and the trial and error to produce this thing, that the end result was amazing, as opposed to just clicking in a prompt. All right, make me a song for my husband, go. That's, I think, cheap. That's kind of lame. That's phoning it in almost literally. But using it as this powerful tool and using it to the extent at which you can use that powerful tool, I think is a wonderful thing. So if and in just the policy realm, it's there are people that are wonderful at writing, whether or not that's just a craft that they were able to form over, years of college and training and all of those sorts of things. Develop these skills to write in an effective way to get your ideas out to the public effectively. There are some people that are terrible at that. They might have wonderful ideas, but they just can't effectively put them down on paper for somebody to read. So it's should those ideas be trapped in that person's head? Or could they use these tools to be able to get those ideas down onto paper so that they could effectively communicate them out to people? I think that is a little bit more of a blurry line of whether or not we think that's socially acceptable.
Yeah. Well, and I think the best example of how blurry and how difficult it is probably in the art world, right? Because people spend, decades improving their art and trying to learn how to draw and paint and do whatever medium. And then you get the AI generated art coming along and people are paying commissions for this stuff, not realizing that it's AI generated. And then they're like, what does it matter whether it's AI generated or not? It's, you got what you asked for. So why are you upset? And so clearly we have an idea of art. And I think literature goes under that category.
For sure.
That
For sure.
If it's a different kind of thing rather than just content, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my wife is an artist. She's a painter, and she teaches others how to paint. And you can tell the human for now when you buy a piece of artwork, that there's actual paint on that canvas or on that board or whatever. So it's pretty straightforward. Um, you know, uh, there's so much to say about this. I have so much in my notes. I'll just try to be brief though. But the market. We're a free market think tank. We believe that the market decides best. In this case, when it comes to art, I'm not sure that over time the market will match my preferences for art, literature, and movies created the old-fashioned way by humans with their human creativity, using their brains, not an algorithm, not an AI data center. And then the question on the table is, should there be a AI label if AI is used to create something like a book, as you mentioned in the top of the segment, Linnea? I am not usually a big advocate of a law requiring, the free market or the private sector to really do pretty much anything except make sure that their products don't kill us. But in this case, because it's happening so fast, I would not necessarily be opposed to some sort of label that says artificial intelligence was employed to create this thing. And I'm trying to think of it as like, the label organic on your food, or even just putting an ingredients list on the food that you buy. I mean, that's required by law because we have a right, not really a constitutional right, but it is best. And our elected leaders have decided that you really need to know all the ingredients that go into the food that you put into your body, because that's a very important thing to know for a variety of reasons. So if I can think of an AI label in those terms, I really have no objections. But the idea that artificial intelligence, using AI, Donnie, your description of that is actually quite beautiful. That your wife, thought to do that and did it in a very personal way, and the whole idea that there's somebody who is creative but doesn't know how to do music, doesn't know how to write music, but can use AI to find a way to express what they feel inside. That is very much, as you said, a very blurry line. But there is what you lose with that, though. There's I think it was Thomas Sowell who said there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. There are trade-offs in everything. Like, look, I'm a very competitive tennis player. I play in several leagues. I practice a lot. I work on my game. I actually have a very important match coming up on Saturday. If I could somehow hit a button to hit a great serve right when I needed it in a key point in a key match, and I just knew I had it, I could just do this, would I do it? No, I actually wouldn't do it, because then I wouldn't actually be getting the reward of doing it myself. And that applies to art. It applies to writing. The human mind is very easy to dull. And I wanted to get into this later on, and I will get into this later on in our conversation. But unless you exercise your mind and your creativity, it will atrophy and it will eventually die. And what I really fear is that while, my market choices are going to be, and I think yours too, Linnea, everybody on this podcast is going to be directed toward actual human creativity and actual human writing of novels. I don't think that's going to be the norm in 10 or 15 years, because it's just going to be too easy. And then the trade-off for that is that we get less and less truly creative, innovative, impactful art and creation, human creation over time. And that's really, I think, going to be the carry-on effects of the use of AI that's accelerating every day.
Yeah, I like the idea of like the little label that says this was this was partially produced with AI or something. But then of course it's just like, how do you enforce that sort of thing? I know that with like images or videos, there are proposals out there to have like I don't think this is the term, but it's like a chain of custody sort of a thing. I don't know if it's like in the metadata or some like inobservable watermark that's kind of like in the background sort of a thing, which actually exists in modern day printers so that people don't counterfeit like money or whatever. It's like a very specific sort of watermark that you can't actually see.
Yeah, it's why your yellow ink always runs out even if you never use any color printing.
Interesting. But when it comes to like writing something, how do you enforce that? I don't even really know how you do it, other than running it through some, one of those teacher things where it's like, is this work plagiarized? And it's right 50% of the time and wrong 50% of the time. And it makes me think of like, in like video game, like e-game, realms or whatever. There's all of these safeguards in place to make sure that people aren't cheating. I was actually watching a video recently about an online chess tournament. Because of cheating, there's like very specific camera placements that if you're going to take part in this online chess tournament, you have to have a camera that's aimed down at your keyboard and mouse to see like your actual hand movements, making the movements. There has to be a camera facing like the opposite direction for, in case you have something that's helping you cheat, all of these random things. And it's just like, they do all of those things to make sure that robots aren't helping you win in that chess match. What are you going to put in place to make sure that somebody that's writing a book is doing it with their own two hands as opposed to prompting AI in the background? I don't know. I really don't know what the enforcement mechanism of something like that would be.
Well, one of the sorry, Sam, I'll let you.
I'm glad you brought up the chess match, Donald, because one of the things that has happened is that because computers have become so good at chess, obviously it's hard for real chess players to prove how great they are. So one of the things that happened is that they've created a new form of chess in which the pieces are laid on the board in the two end rows at random. And so you don't know going in what the board is going to look like, so you can't plan in advance. And then you are able to show your real skill because both players are starting from scratch without any kind of any kind of guidance from an algorithm, which is chess really is subject to algorithms, and that's really what any chess offense or defense is. So that brought on some creativity. And some very interesting creativity. I think what we need to recognize is that none of this is a market failure. It's not that. What it is some people like to cheat in life, and they can get away with it for a while because the law does not recognize that it's cheating, and they don't go after the cheaters. We have this very interesting push and pull between regulation and simply using the civil courts and even criminal courts to regulate things. The latter, the common law, is much better and I think much more effective than using regulation. Regulation always creates these hostile disputes over who gets the advantage from the regulation, who gets hurt by the regulation. Whereas holding people responsible for the things that they do through the courts is much better. Now, of course, the courts get that wrong and so forth. There's no question about that. And you even have corrupt judges and corrupt district attorneys and bad juries. But on the whole, they are much less, they're certainly much less dominant over the society, over the people, and over the economy. So I think that we don't have to look to regulation first. We should first look toward enforcing laws against fraud. The things that everyone's complaining about here are basically fraud. What was done in regard to Justin Haskins's book, that was fraud. And so we can get past this whole idea that you have to regulate everything in order to get things to be good and decent and so forth. No, what you need to do is go after those who are doing things which are already crimes. So I think that we shouldn't get so worried about potential consequences that we go overboard and use regulation in a way that's both unnecessary and unwise. So I think that's really a key point, and I'm glad you both you and Jim brought that up, and Linnea too, as a matter of fact.
Let me just address one comment here. There's one from John1Z1 that says, I don't believe there's any way that a computer can extrapolate information from life and put it down on paper. Computers don't have the motion. So I think that there is this idea out there that people like to kind of boil the large language model down to this idea that it's just predicting what the next, the probability of the next word. It's just like a word prediction thing. It's all just based off of what information that they're just scraping from the internet and putting it together. But there is actually a very novel ways of putting all of this, these neural networks and the way that they try to like replicate the way that the brain works in a human, that allows it to do things that are beyond just copying, pasting something that somebody else already did on the internet. And there's a famous example of this, which was AlphaGo. So this is a program that was put together to play the game Go, which is very popular in Asian countries. It's like their equivalent to chess, something along these lines. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe I'm being offensive. But it's this game called Go. It's actually considered to be even more complex than chess because of the amount of possible moves and all of this sorts of things. So anyways, AlphaGo was put into a contest with like the best Go players out there in the world. And they were monitoring it. This was like a big test for whatever firm was putting this together. I think it was like DeepMind or something like that. And at like move number 35, something along these lines, it did a move that was like everyone that was watching it was like, whoa, it just made its first massive mistake, because nobody would do that. Like nobody in the history of Go would ever make a move like that. And then it actually, by the end of the game, that move was pivotal in its ability to win that game. It did a move that no human has done because it was able to holistically look at all of the rules of the game and all the pieces that are in place and all of that stuff and make the determination that this move, which seems weird, is actually going to have the best outcome when its goal is to win the game. So it did it. It did something novel. This is where we're at. Artificial intelligence can produce novel things. It's not just copying, pasting things from other humans.
This is kind of a good transition actually into our final topic here, which I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. So I'm not concerned at all that it's that we're not quite to the end of the show yet to get on to topic 4. So we actually almost accidentally started talking about my next topic in this topic, which is, finding balance between, innovation and technology versus just like spiraling into dystopia. And where's the line? So AI is obviously not limited just to generating entertainment content or news articles or things like that. There are uses that are not total slop, though I think we can debate how much we trust it given how LLMs, like large language models like ChatGPT and Grok and Claude, whatever, often do still and will always generate nonsense answers and get stuff wrong. And I wanted to go over a few examples of where it's being proposed and used based on stuff that Donald sent to us. First, this article from OpenAI discussing the launch of ChatGPT for clinicians. So OpenAI writes, built for clinical work, ChatGPT for clinicians is now available for free to verified individual clinicians in the United States. We're introducing ChatGPT for clinicians, a version of ChatGPT designed to support clinical tasks like documentation, medical research, so clinicians can focus on delivering high-quality patient care. We're making it free for any verified physician, NP, PA, or pharmacist. That scares me a little, starting in the United States. The U.S. healthcare system today is under extraordinary strain. Clinicians are being asked to care for more patients while managing growing administrative demands and a rapidly expanding body of medical research. Many are already turning to AI tools like ChatGPT for support. According to a 2026 survey by the American Medical Association, physician use of AI is now at an all-time high, with 72% of physicians reporting they now use AI in clinical practice, up from 48% last year. Today, millions of clinicians worldwide use ChatGPT to support their clinical care every week for applications like Care Consult, writing and documentation, and medical research. Clinician usage of ChatGPT has more than doubled over the past year. Okay, So my question on this kind of thing is this. Is AI going to be used here, or is it being used? It sounds like it is in part, to eliminate, hopefully, the need for the colossal administrative department at every hospital and medical care system. Is it going to lower costs and improve the care of individual patients, or is this more of the like Obamacare checklist doctoring that we saw explode after the Affordable Care Act, right, Sam?
Yeah, I found it very interesting because, as you say, it is sort of based on the checklist model, and that's what your doctor's doing now. When you go and when you go to your doctor, they, at least the ones I've heard of and the ones I've been to, your GP is just sort of going down, looking at their computer and asking you the questions and then filling it in. And I don't even know how much of that might already be AI. So it seems a bit weird, no question about it. But of course, there's liability involved. That the doctor can be sued if he or she makes an error, regardless of what it's based on. If it's based on AI, the doctor can then sue the company that sold him or her the product. So there are always ways of dealing with this, and they're already in place. But I think that it's just an expansion of a trend that's already been going. And you are absolutely right to point out that the big source of the reason behind all this is government. And then the insurance companies have followed what the government has told them they have to do in order to get their Medicare and Medicaid money. So a big part of this would be get the government out of this. Let the people decide what they want and what they don't want, and don't have these giant insurance companies that you empowered through the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act just gave enormous power to the insurance companies, and everything that's happened since, with some minor exceptions during the first Trump administration, has been to increase that power. So again, I think that all the things that we need in terms of public policy and systems are already in place to stop fraud of this type and to hold people responsible for errors of judgment. And I think that that's an important point, that when your doctor's going down, looking at your computer, and they're going down the list of things that they're supposed to ask you, they have to be making judgments as they go along. And I think that that's been my experience with my GP and other doctors, is that they seem to be making judgments as they go along. Maybe they're AI and I didn't even realize that they're robots or something. But it's when you get to the human part of it that responsibility comes in. You can't make how are you going to make a program responsible? There's no way. All you can do is delete it or destroy it. But that's not the problem. The problem is that people are using poor judgment. They're making mistakes. And what we cannot do is let them blame it on a computer and say, well, the computer told me to do this. You don't have to do what a computer tells you to do. You can use your judgment. And so we have, like I say, we have the pieces in place to solve these problems, and we will. We will, as long as we do not give ourselves over to the absurd fancy that governments will solve these problems. They will not.
Yeah, when I see like an article like this, well, actually, let me frame it this way. When you listen to some of these like tech people, whether it's like Elon Musk or, whoever, talk about the future of like, AI and robotics when it comes to the healthcare system, it is very easy to just be very hopeful for like the future. And, when you got Elon Musk talking about how, advanced, what is his robot called? It's like a transformer name. What is it called? Optimus. Optimus, when it talks about how Optimus is going to be better at brain surgery than the best brain surgeons out there. And we're going to be able to train them in like a day, because they just have to have the matrix just plugged in, and hey, all of a sudden the robot knows kung fu, it knows brain surgery, right? So he says, like, within 10 years we're going to have more of the best brain surgeons ever on planet Earth, and they're all going to be robotic, and you are going to get better health care than the president of the United States is currently getting. And the way that artificial intelligence is tied into all of these things, it's going to make your level of healthcare all the better. And at some level, and maybe this is due to me being so disillusioned with like all of our institutions in society, where like I could actually believe that, where it's like the system that we have in place to train a brain surgeon is so long, and they get bogged down in all of this debt and all of these like sorts of things, to a point where we have scarcity in brain surgery, or just doctors and all of that. Like that could all be alleviated, theoretically, with advanced robotics and all this sorts of things. And then when you go to a doctor, and you have to wait sometimes months to be able to get an appointment, and then they come in for 5 minutes and ask you what's going on. They look at your chart for 2 seconds, and then give you a prescription and kick you out the door or whatever. With artificial intelligence, theoretically, all of your information would be able to be sifted through in a microsecond by AI. They'd be able to cross-reference whatever ailments that you have with all of the text that's out there when it comes to healthcare, and be able to give you like a much more comprehensive diagnosis on something. I can believe that. I feel like that is something that is like very possible. On the other side of things, I actually heard some commentary talking about this specific piece here, which was saying that, and I think that piece even points this out, that like already, some high level of practitioners are already using some AI co-pilot sort of program to help with their, treatment and all of that. So why is ChatGPT kind of jumping in? And one of the things that they said, this is speculation, of course, is that like, well, maybe this just kind of feels like a way of gathering data on all of these patients so that they can use it for X, Y, and Z later. So like that is another thing that we have to, that goes along with that. In the future, you'll own nothing. The other part of that headline that's usually left out is, in the future, you'll have no privacy. That's part of this. That's part of this whole AI future, is that it all is based on the data that is able to be accrued by these AI systems. And the more intimate the data, the more able that it'll be able to, impact your life in what they would say, good way. But again, that requires you giving your data. That requires you giving your medical history, and all of that stuff is fed into these large language model frontier type AI systems that are used, it's a very centralizing force, is my main point. And that comes along with a lot of hesitations and concerns, which, we can get into that probably more so in the next article you're going to show.
Well, can I just jump in here real quick? Because Donnie, I was about to make some of those points, but I think I can take this out a little bit broader. You didn't hit every one of the points I wanted to make, but isn't this what AI was supposed to do for us? When is it going to cure cancer and other dread diseases? I mean, isn't AI at its best use is to potentially quickly learn and analyze the entire history of medicine and human history? Or let's just even narrow that down a little bit. How about absorb all of the information in the medical journals of the past 100 years? Unlike a human researcher, if they started from scratch at the age of 10, they'd never be able to get through all of that literature. But AI, at its best in this application, becomes almost omniscient. It can consume more medical research and results, presumably all of it, almost instantly. And that is, again, impossible for human beings to do, especially, Donnie, as you pointed out. Doctors, through their careers, self-segregate into specialties. So their intellectual and analytical acumen gets necessarily narrowed down to their specialty. But AI, they can take all that data from everywhere and propose treatments or cures that have not yet been tried yet by humans, because we don't, human beings don't have the analytical ability to do all that. So AI, in a sense, could be both a generalist, a general practitioner, and a specialist at the exact same time, and then give some, suggest some solutions that humans can then try and see if it works. That, to me, is the the greatest application of AI, and it would do the best for humanity overall by miles and miles. Forget about writing my term paper for me. Curing diseases or coming up with treatments to make human life better and longer is what AI really should be primarily focused on, in my opinion. When is this going to happen? I mean, is anyone trying to make this happen? I don't know, but I haven't seen any evidence of it yet. And I hope we see some evidence of that soon, because that's where AI can do the very best good, the most good for humanity.
All right, so I got a few answers for you there, Jim, on that question. So I actually wrote an article that's pending publication right now that was titled something along the lines of like AI needs to cure cancer. So it's like literally what you're talking about. And the basis of my article was like AI is, their PR is in the gutter. Everyone is skeptical of AI. They're very hesitant about it. They think that the negatives are going to outweigh the benefits in society. And along with that kind of mindset is going to be heavy-handed government, either regulation, restrictions, what have you. Big example of that, Bernie Sanders AOC wanting a moratorium on data centers, right? Stop building these things out, right? And the point of my article was like, it needs to do something big. Like, it needs to do something more than just create pictures of Andy standing next to a donkey. Like, it needs to cure cancer so that it could win back like that public trust or interest or whatever to ward off these heavy-handed government approaches. In that article, I do mention that there are like specific movements in that direction. I don't know if it's for that reason that I kind of paint in that article, but OpenAI has a foundation. It's called the OpenAI Foundation, and they are committing like $1 billion to, over the next 10 years or something like that, to solving, cancer and Alzheimer's disease and that sort of thing. And they actually just recently announced, I mentioned this in the article, they recently announced like 6 or 7 different research firms that they were giving like $10 million grants to, specifically to try to, cure Alzheimer's, cancer, these diseases that have plagued humanity for so long, all of that sort of thing. When all of that's going to happen, I have no idea. How feasible is all of that? I don't know. We keep getting this promise that AI is going to do these things. But now we do know that there is some money being thrown at it, I guess.
Yeah, so I have two kind of general comments. One, I guarantee that if ChatGPT existed during 2020, ChatGPT would be telling you to stay 6 feet away from people for safety.
Yes.
It would be telling you to mask up.
Yes.
It would be telling you all the stuff that the mainstream medical and government establishment is telling you to do. It's not going to bypass the mainstream narrative ever. So it's not, I don't think actually that unless they really kind of lighten up on the media feed to it, if you made a separate man, I don't even believe what I'm about to say. I was about to say that if you made a separate, agentic AI program that only looked at, like real medical data and published papers, that kind of thing, then it would be better. But I actually don't believe that, because they publish a lot of BS papers. And so it would be just filled with junk at the same time. So I have a lot of skepticism about
so
that.
What you're describing is basically like some sort of AGI, like an artificial general intelligence. So it's and so I agree, like, about all of those first points that you made: mask up, 6 feet apart, all of this sorts of thing. Because in part, that's kind of that mainstream thing. They're scraping all of this data. The majority of the reputable sources are saying this, so it's going to parrot those reputable sources. But like at a different level, like I was talking about that AlphaGo thing, like it was able to, use machine learning and just really like holistically understand the game to be able to make that like weird, movement that wasn't, in any Go manuals of how to be an effective Go player. Like it did this thing that was outside what the official kind of narrative is. Like that's like what you're talking about. If there was some like artificial general intelligence that was able to look at holistically all of this stuff and decide that, what, a better treatment for COVID isn't doing these things. It's actually X, Y, and Z, that's the future that we're promised when it comes to AI. But yes, I think that in the short term, we're definitely not there yet. The other thing that I was going to say that was skipping my mind was that some of these biases are very intentionally programmed in to artificial intelligence. I always use the example of when Google Gemini was producing very culturally diverse pictures of our founding fathers.
Yeah.
They did that because Google Gemini programmed in a thing to their like underlying prompts saying that they wanted more diverse outcomes of their picture generation. They consciously did that. So those sorts of biases exist. If you were to ask, which I did, I asked AI to put together something that was basically saying all of the data centers, the energy use, all of the energy demand that's going to be needed over the next X amount of years. What would be the best power source to power that future demand? And it said, wind and solar, because that's the most sustainable. And it's like, even Larry Fink doesn't believe that, ChatGPT. Why are you feeding me this garbage? And it's partially because surely there's some bias that's programmed into it, to be environmentally conscious or whatever. And then that mainstream narrative rhetoric that it's scraping from the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And my second kind of downer opinion, to bring down our optimism. I actually think that it's reasonable to be fairly optimistic about technology in the future. I'm not like a total doomer on this stuff, actually, but I do the caution comes more naturally to me than the optimism does when it comes to a lot.
No, God!
So simply because I have lived on Earth and I've witnessed the way that people use technology that we have, and the unforeseen consequences of like social media and stuff have been I think, just catastrophic. And so another thing that makes me skeptical though is the fact that Elon Musk is talking about Optimus, his bipedal robot, doing brain surgery. Why would you have the bipedal robot be doing brain surgery? It doesn't have to be humanoid to do brain surgery. It can be an MRI machine looking thing that you slide into, and it has all the little jabbers and stuff come out and do brain surgery way more efficiently, way more effectively than a bipedal robot. That's why I really don't take these guys very seriously, because they have big ideas. And I think Elon Musk is a brilliant ideas guy. And he's got all these he knows how to get these great engineers to, put these ideas into practice. But I mean, he doesn't bat 100 on these things. I mean, the Boring Company reinvented a subway and pretended like it was a new thing. Like it's really, I have a lot of skepticism when it relies on stuff like that, stuff where it's like, we are going to send Optimus to Mars. We are going to send Optimus to do brain surgery. That seems like goofy sci-fi stuff that makes no practical sense economically, or even to achieve the thing that he's saying he cares about achieving. If you cared about achieving a robot doing brain surgery, you would build a specialized machine to do brain surgery. You wouldn't be multi-purposing Optimus to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say that I actually just saw a video today of Elon Musk retweeting something from Neuralink, which is the kind of the brain implant thing. And it's the robot that's built to actually implant this, to put the little tendrils into your neurons or whatever of your brain, is what you're describing. It's this like very specific looking, it looks like something out of like 12 Monkeys or something like that, like some weird sci-fi movie. Yeah, so it's not like an Optimus robot that's coming at you with some tools and a brain implants. But so I don't know, maybe he's talking about it more like abstractly. I'm not sure, but
I would hope so. But okay, so the other thing that you sent us, Donald, was about the UAE planning an AI-run government within 2 years. From the article that you sent, the country says it will integrate agentic artificial intelligence across half of its government operations within 2 years, referring to systems that can analyze information, make decisions, and take action with minimal human input. In this model, AI can process requests, adjust workflows, and improve outcomes in real time. So how would that show up in everyday ways? Think faster permit approvals, automated public services, or systems that respond instantly to changes in demand. Instead of waiting for human bottlenecks, processes move continuously. For all the excitement, this kind of rollout raises real concerns. Critics point to accountability as one of the biggest questions. When AI systems start to make decisions inside of government, it can become harder to understand who's responsible when something goes wrong. Government systems already handle sensitive personal data. Expanding AI across those systems would increase how much data is collected, analyzed, and stored, which makes some experts uneasy. And there's also the issue of bias. AI models learn from data, and if that data has gaps or flaws, the outcomes can reflect that. In a government setting, that could affect access to services, approvals, or enforcement decisions in ways that are not always obvious. Well, from the perspective of government, these are all great, right? All of these worries aren't worries at all. These are part of the program, right?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting story. And, I could be like the AI optimist or pessimist, depending on, who I'm talking to or what day of the week that you catch me on.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But this story also has me similarly conflicted because we've talked about this to a degree. I think there was a story about, was it like someone in Sweden? Was it the prime minister of Sweden or something like that? Switzerland, maybe? I don't know. One of them that was talking about how they use ChatGPT and we bounce public policy things off of ChatGPT that helps me make decisions. And we kind of extrapolated that out to like, at what point is AI going to be like running parts of the government? Fast forward a few months and it's like right now the United Arab Emirates is talking about automating essentially 50% of the government with artificial intelligence, and some of the things like that, streamlining permits and some of this like bureaucratic stuff is actually probably a wonderful thing. The idea that the getting rid of some of the government bloat and just replacing it with an algorithm is probably a fine thing to do. But it does kind of worry me, like the idea of mission creep or something along those lines, where like, we allow machines or whatever to do X, Y, and Z in our lives because we trust it to do that. But if it becomes super good at doing this and its approval of permits has 100% track record, right? Accuracy and all of this stuff, then it's like, well, maybe we put in charge of a few more things, maybe some like lower level, justice system decisions could be made, determining if whether or not you did run that red light. Like, why do we need a judge doing that? Maybe just AI can do it. And then as it, becomes efficient in doing those things, like suddenly we start putting more and more and more in control of artificial intelligence. That becomes a little bit of a scarier picture for me. Then all of a sudden we're talking about AI surveillance states. We're talking about, Minority Report, and, we already had Tom Cruise on this show once popping up in the bottom corner. So, if he has to come up again, I don't know. It's probably maybe not a future that we necessarily want. At least certainly has pitfalls. So it's a very interesting story. And I know, with the United Arab Emirates, they obviously don't have a democratic system over there, so they can kind of speed this thing through. They don't need a whole lot of approval process when it comes to taking 50% of their government and automating it. So it'll be interesting to see how this all works out in some of these countries that are a little bit more forward when it comes to doing things like this. But certainly there's going to be calls in the United States to do similar things. Whether or not those are a good idea or a bad idea, I guess remains to be seen.
Donnie, you talked about how AI needs better PR.
Yeah.
If you want good PR for AI, put AI in charge of the DMV. If it can end that horrible experience for Americans, it will be next month. Well, they'll allow AI to operate on their brains and deliver their children.
Right, person of the year.
Yeah. So certainly our government right now seems to think that AI has, we need to accelerate into it. Last year, the president signed an executive order removing barriers to AI development. And this is another one where I think that we actually have a little bit of a complicated relationship with this executive order, let's say, because it's kind of stomping on federalism a bit. They're just straight up, it is. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts, especially you, Sam, because this is a bit of a complicated situation here. He writes in the executive order states, "We remain in the earliest days of this technological revolution and are in a race with our adversaries for supremacy within it," which is true. To win, United States AI companies must be free to innovate without cumbersome regulation. Fair. But excessive state regulation thwarts this imperative. State-by-state regulation, by definition, creates a patchwork of 50 different regulatory regimes that makes compliance more challenging, particularly for startups. State laws are increasingly responsible for requiring entities to embed ideological bias within models. For example, a new Colorado law banning algorithmic discrimination may even force AI models to produce false results in order to avoid a differential treatment or impact on protected groups. Third, state laws sometimes impermissibly regulate beyond state borders, impinging on interstate commerce. My administration must act with the Congress to ensure that there is a minimally burdensome national standard, not 50 discordant state ones. The resulting framework must forbid state laws that conflict with the policy set forth in this order. That framework should also ensure that children are protected, censorship is prevented, copyrights are respected, and communities are safeguarded. A carefully crafted national framework can ensure the United States wins the AI race, as we must. So, this one's tough for me because certainly each of those concerns are true, right? And yet, as a whole, it sends a little bit of a chill up my spine here. I'm so completely divided on this issue. On the one hand, I think the AI companies themselves are mostly evil. I have no trust whatsoever in the benevolence or the sanity or good sense or anything of Google or Sam Altman or Palantir or anyone. I think they're just as corrupted and controlling as government. But at least in theory, I get some say in my government. So I don't know.
I've seen enough Terminator movies to know that Linnea is in danger right now with that dog barking like crazy. So
yeah, there's a guy like melting through my front door right now.
There's the way this works is for Trump is that his executive orders often have a whole lot of rhetoric at the front that sounds really good or really bad or a mixture of both. And this one kind of does that. But then when you get to the actual policies that he is ordering the government to do, they're generally things that he's ordering the federal government not to get involved in certain things, and he's ordering the federal government to use their fiscal ability to affect. So part of this, the rules that he has in the EO in this executive order are that the federal government can't spend any money or send any money to states that are violating these principles. So that's fair. That's fair. If you want to take the federal money, you have to do what the government says. That's always been true. And maybe we need to shrink the federal government a little. Maybe we need to shrink it a heck of a lot. But the other thing is that one of the things that he is saying there is that if a state law supersedes federal law, you have to go with the federal law. Well, that's straight out of the U.S. Constitution. If we don't like it, we can amend the Constitution and go back to the Articles of Confederation, which I wouldn't be averse to. I mean, let's give it a try and see how it goes. But the fact of the matter is that that's a very straightforward approach. So most of the things that the approach that he takes to do these things is legitimate and I would say reasonable. I'm not sure that I actually like the premises that he has outlined here, and the fact that states, for example, that states will say, I think it was brilliant and so true that he said states will tell the computers they have to lie. That's what he's referring to, ESG and DEI and things like that. And yes, that is wrong, and it is downright fraudulent. Well, who can stop that? Other states can't stop that. The citizens of that state can't stop that except by throwing out the government, which of course has been lying to them all along. And now they are somewhat brainwashed, or at least enough of them are brainwashed. And then of course they are going to use AI to invent new voters that will vote for whatever government is there. So, and in our Constitution, in our system, The federal government is the entity that is supposed to keep the states in line, that they're to guarantee that it's stayed as a Republican form of government. I noticed they didn't say Democratic, and I appreciate that. But the fact is that it is the federal government's job to do that. So I think that some of the things that he's saying that they should do, I don't agree with them, but I do agree with the policy approach that he's taking. And so it's a mixed bag. It's just like he had that executive order on home ownership, and I wrote about that, which was that there were some very good things in it, and then there were some very problematic things. But he's obviously trying to do the right thing, trying to find a way through this where the federal government can do what it's supposed to do and not do what it isn't supposed to do. Unfortunately, that's a really hard angle to find. And I don't think you're ever going to do a great job of it. What we need to do is go to the idea of civil and criminal liability and follow up that road, where if you do something that is already fraud, or you do something, for example, lying to people about let's say the consequences of certain policies, or lying to people about the percentages of people that do certain things, then that's fraud. And you should be held accountable for that. And as I said earlier, you can't hold a model and an algorithm accountable for anything. You can't hold them responsible for it. It's got to be the people who are deploying those things. And that's what the EO is doing, the executive order is doing, is saying we're going to hold the states responsible. And the way we're going to hold them responsible is that money you thought you were going to get isn't going to come your way. So it's a mixed bag. But again, you really, as you saw across all these issues, you really have to just deal with what comes up as it comes up. You can't just say, and from good principles. You can't just say, okay, we have a solution that's going to last for everything forever. Things don't work that way.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of broaden it out a little bit just to make sure we hit that dystopia thing that's in the thumbnail. Where artificial intelligence, and let me preface this by saying that what I'm about to say is not some, advocation of destroying artificial intelligence and whatever, right? It's a very powerful tool, which means it can do very awesome things and it can do very terrible things. And what AI allows for is a level of control over society that would make the Soviets drool. Okay. So like the Soviet Union, very centralized economy, obviously that's like in their name, right? Their failures, a lot of them could be attributed to the fact that they're operating based on bad information and an inability to synthesize that information in a way that was helpful, right? This very, very broad way of talking about this is, they wanted to make bread, and doing so based on the information that was coming to them, how to make, what amount of bread to make and how to allocate that bread. They did it poorly. That resulted in shortages, and starvation, right? It's a very broad way of thinking about this. In the future now, all of that information could be collected and synthesized by artificial intelligence, and they could be much more effective in how to allocate that centralized bread making, process. That's just a very small example, but extrapolate that over everything. When I talk about ESG, right? ESG is this idea that we're going to supplant customer wants, supply and demand, price signals, all of these things with a list of subjective metrics that we want all of these corporations to do, a sort of social credit score for corporations. They get punished if they don't, do all of these subjective things. They get rewarded if they do, that sort of thing. That would not have been possible 20 years ago. You can't just do that with paper. You would need armies of bureaucrats poring over all of these different metrics and doing math on pieces of paper to generate scores for these things. Now it's possible. Now, because of the digitalization of all of these things, it could be centralized and pulled in and use algorithms to determine these scores and all that sorts of stuff. That concept right there of ESG extrapolated and empowered by artificial intelligence allows for a level of control that used to be reserved for episodes of Black Mirror. like science fiction, where people get a little ding on their license if they do something that wasn't in line with what the ruling party wants. That's what we're talking about with this threat of dystopia. I kind of wonder how it's going to play out in China, who is second place when it comes to the AI race, and they have no hesitations of trying to compel or coerce their constituents to act in certain ways. If they're doing that with the power of the government and the strength of, or I should say, the power of AI and the strength of the government, who knows what level of dictatorship they're going to be able to exercise over their population. That's like the big fear that I have. And anything that we can do to kind of warn people of that, put up safeguards about that, is being proactive, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because our vision, I think for a long time, just because it makes a more compelling story to watch on television and stuff, or to read in novels and whatnot, is the hard dystopia of 1984 or Brave New World or anything else like that, Black Mirror stuff, and maybe not so much Black Mirror stuff because they do a little bit what I'm talking about too. Whereas in reality, it's kind of the soft dystopia that I think is a lot more likely, where it's like what the World Economic Forum was pushing, right? It's you'll have no privacy, you'll own nothing, you'll live in an entirely rental economy, and it'll be every single thing about you is stored and calculated algorithmically to determine, what groceries you're allowed to buy.
Yes.
Yeah, and manipulated. You've got the AI, the RFK AI that's gonna not let me buy potato chips at the grocery store because I've already got too much sodium at home.
Right.
It's gonna be just like small, just tiny little infringements all over the place constantly.
Yeah.
Let
Thank
me
you,
jump in, Johnny. Hold on
John
one
C.
sec.
with the Fifth Element comment. Yeah, multi-pass. That's what I was thinking with the point on the license. Thank you, John C. Keep going, Jim.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing we've talked about on this podcast a long time ago, the book, The Great Reset. We talked about the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum. What that all is us resisting the drive to have us ruled by a technocracy of human beings who believe they are smart enough to make all the decisions for us and to direct society. We seem to be on a path in which we're going to replace the human-driven technocracy that we do not trust with an AI technocracy. At the end of it all, your freedom goes away and your desire to live your life as you see fit is going to be eroded. And it's and as much as we could resist the WEF and the Great Reset and all of that stuff, it's going to be a lot harder to resist an AI-driven government technocracy that's coming after our liberty.
Yeah, you're not going to resist when it's wrapped up in comfort and convenience quite so much.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, the biggest threat. Not to end on a terrible note. We'll end on a positive note, which is that AI is going to make Hollywood worse and also maybe possibly better as well, because they're going to have to struggle with competing with AI content.
But I pity the fool.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you, Mr. T. And there are a lot of good things that can come from it. I do think that we'll see some medical advancement, at least. Probably not the really pie in the sky stuff, but with time and with caution, we can turn a very powerful tool into a positive thing.
Sounds good to me.
I think that's it. All right. That is all the time we have, unfortunately. Thank you, everyone, for your attention to these matters. We are live every single week on Thursdays at noon Central on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all over the place. Jim, what have you got for our audience today?
We have the Climate Realism Show coming up on these very same channels tomorrow, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The Climate Realism Show. It's going to be another great one. We'll see you there.
Sam?
Thank you. Go to heartland.org and take a look at my paper on housing affordability. It explains in very simple terms and easy to understand charts exactly what has caused the housing affordability crisis and the overall affordability crisis. And it might not be what you think.
All right. And Donald.
Yeah, I was going to also promote that affordability paper. It's a great paper. Just finished doing a radio interview about it right before I hopped on this podcast. So a lot of great material in there. And also, if you want to read my writing on artificial intelligence and emerging technology, just Google it. You'll find me. But specifically, I have a lot of articles on the Blaze. I have a specific little profile on there. You can find all of my articles.
Alrighty, thank you very much. For audio listeners, please rate us well on whatever service you're using and leave a review. Thank you so much to all of our usual panelists and also the Director of Awesomeness, and to our viewers. And a special thanks to Andy, the producer, as well, for putting together that game for us. Everybody put applause in the chat for him. And then we will see you again next week.